Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm super excited to dive into today's topic because we're going to talk all about the very, very first thing that I embodied when I realized that this was an inside out world. This was the moment when I said, oh my God, I have this all backwards. And it's not a coincidence that this is the first thing that I embodied because what we're going to talk about today is literally a non negotiable for every single person on this planet. When I talked about frequency in one of my podcast episodes, it was like the last 3 ago, I talked about that first bracket of frequency, that 100 to 400 frequency. We all have to master that area to get to the next and the next and the next. But that first area that I talked about, it was all about mastering knowing how to love themselves. What's interesting is every single time we come into this lifetime, we all start back in that frequency. Now, we have many lifetimes of mastering this area, so we might move through it quicker than other lifetimes. But we all have to wake up to remembering how to love ourselves. Now, that seems pretty broad, how to love ourselves. There is actually one very specific thing that this frequency section is talking about, and that is what we're going to talk about today. So, we're going to talk all about self-love. Now, I absolutely hate that word because I have seen it literally thrown into everything and everyone teaching it wrong and not really hitting it at the core. And then we have that same problem where when we have wrong information, people go, well, this doesn't work. So let's talk about what self-love is. Self-love is the ability to put yourself first as number one. Now, if we go back to that first episode I talked about, this being an inside out world, this is what made me wake up to it. Because when I was younger, I had a lot of experiences of feeling like no one prioritized me, that I was last on the list, that there was a million other things that came before me. I had relationships where no matter what I gave to them, they found other people more interesting and put other people before me and other things before me. I also experienced feeling like there was no chance in hell that I was going to get my ideas off the ground because no one cared to even listen. And this is that embodiment of not putting yourself first. At this time in my life, I didn't understand this concept. I didn't know how to love myself in this way. To be fair, most of the time back then, I knew I had to love myself, but that seemed way too broad. There is so much in that bracket of just going, you need to love yourself. Because realistically, everything we talk about is a ability to deepen your connection to yourself and love that core version of you. So it's a deeper love for self constantly. So saying I need to love myself, it's way too broad. And what I want you to realize about spiritual and about the science of this world is it's very specific. If you say, I just need to love myself and take the advice that I see all the time out there of like, go get your hair done, go for a walk, work out, those things are actually not going to be the formula of putting yourself first. Again, there is this science to this world. And science, if you understand science, how it's taught, it's a formula. If you do the same formula over and over again, you'll get the same outcome. This universe is built on energy science. So there are formulas to everything that you create in life. And when I was in this state, me not knowing, okay, I have to love myself, I don't even understand what that means, is so broad. I tried many different things and I never hit the right formula. It was A plus E equals question mark because it wasn't the right formula. And it wasn't until I woke up to realizing that that first bracket was all about mastering, knowing how to put myself first. That's when I realized that was the formula of loving myself in that first section of 100 to 400 frequency. So this ability to put ourselves first, it sounds really simple. But the problem is we have so much brainwashing out there that goes the opposite direction. Then we have a lot of beliefs that say it's selfish, that that we need to be there for other people. Obviously, we want to love everyone around us and be the best we can be for everyone else. And that's exactly why self love is super important. Because if we're going to really be the best version of ourselves for the people around us, we cannot be on empty. We always hear that phrase of put your mask on first before helping others. Literally, you're about to die in a plane and it says you need oxygen or you might pass out and you won't be able to help other people. It is literally that. It's this knowing that every action you do in your life, and I mean every action, every 1% moment in your day, there has to be a knowing and an embodiment of putting yourself first so that you constantly stay at that 100% fill. Now, I was very empty before I understood this. I was very depleted, which is why I used a lot of things outside of me to try to fill that emptiness. And it put me in a lot of really uncomfortable situations because I was craving just wanting to be prioritized, wanted to be picked as number one. So I did a lot of things that was like, oh, if I do this, maybe I'll get more love. And it gave me the opposite because, like we talked about, we can't do it externally. It has to be something that we do to ourselves. So once I realized that there was this formula of I needed to put myself first, that's when my whole life started to change. This is when I started to get that formula, those ingredients on my energy field, that the things outside of me started to change. And this is why I say it's science. If you put the formula on your field over and over again, you get the same outcome. So now in my life, there's never a moment that there's a priority issue in my life because it's on my field. I make sure I put myself first. But let's talk about this because we mentioned the whole frequency section, 100 to 400 frequency. If you watch that episode, I talk about how a majority, and we're talking high 90s of the planet is in that section. We also talked about how emotions are the most contagious thing. That means we are walking around with 98% of people in that bracket of not embodying it. So whether you are aware of it or not, you are absorbing beliefs of how not to do it and how it's a selfish thing to do. And you don't even realize it's surrounding you. There's also so many beliefs that just shut us down of saying it's wrong and that we need to be the nice person and take care of others. Of course, we want to help others. But again, I want you to realize there is a lot when it comes to actually helping a soul. And this was a huge wake up call for me. Being kind and loving to someone doesn't necessarily mean you're going to make a life change in somebody. If you really want to change someone's life, and I mean really want to change their life, it is doing the higher frequency thing to align everyone. And this was that very first thing I needed to understand, that if I wanted to really change people's lives, that I needed to make sure I put myself first so I was in the right alignment, which made everyone else get into their proper alignment. So, for example, if I had a friend that called me up and said, hey, I need your help with helping me put together this table. So random. If I didn't test and I just said, yes, of course, I want to be there for you because I want to make sure you feel like you have someone to support you because that's how I'm going to love you. And I just didn't go intuitive and I just made that choice. That's what I used to do, right? Just jump the gun and just love people and be there for them. I didn't consider that maybe if I wasn't meant to be there, that I could be taking something away from my friend. So let's just say I went the intuitive route and I said, okay, I'm not going to do this because intuitively I actually need to take a nap because I'm so burnt out. And that is not the best time for me to see my friend. I'm actually supposed to see my friend in like a week. And I followed that route. Now I go take my nap and then during that time, my friend is putting this table together. She is being challenged, but overcomes it. And it makes her have this brilliant idea in the moment because she is being challenged and she overcomes it. If I was there, I would have taken that win from her. Me not being there actually aligned her to where she was supposed to be, or he. And then they get the win. What you want to realize is if you're not meant to be there, you could be actually taking something away from someone else. That is the opposite of selfish. And that's exactly what I talk about when I mean it can be a life change. What I want you to realize is stepping into self love is aligning not only you, but the people around you to life changes versus just a band aid to make them feel good in the moment. When we talk about spiritual stuff, what I really learned over the many years of doing this is spiritual is instead of getting a quick fix, instead of seeing just the next 30 days, it's more of seeing the bigger picture. How does this one thing affect the bigger picture? Humans have a really hard time doing this because we're constantly in a state of fight or flight. We have all these beliefs. It's just like, no, 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 no. What about 30 days? Everything's not going to be okay, right? Everyone wants to make sure they're paying their bills in 30 days. They don't make actions based off of what is the bigger picture ripple effect. And this is that. When we talk about self love, as simple and complex as this subject is, a lot of people want to give love to the people around them, not realizing it's because they feel trauma and imbalance in themselves. And they're trying to make others around them feel good so that they don't feel like what they went through. And so their actions are coming from a place of lack, not realizing that that is just a quick fix band-aid of actually trying to make yourself feel good in the moment. Because I hate to break it to you, we actually do everything for a selfish reason. We just want to align to the soul way, not the human way. And the human selfish way is going, I feel like I'm lacking in love, so I need to make sure my friend doesn't feel that. Well, that doesn't actually fix your problem and it doesn't fix their problem. But if we take the spiritual way of looking at things and we really start to approach things in this spiritual mindset of going, I want to see the bigger picture of this. I want to see how this affects them later on. So again, if we go back to that example and we go, okay, if I go there, I'm not meant to be there, which means I could be taking something from them. So I'm going to take my nap. That moment where my friend had that win, that could be the start of her realizing that she can problem solve and that she can overcome something that is a challenge. Now, I know it seems silly, but we talk about this all the time on this channel. It's the 1% moments that change our life. So that small moment of overcoming maybe a little bit of a challenge of putting a table together and problem solving it, then she takes that as a memory, a core memory of, I was able to overcome a challenge. Then the next time that shows up in her life, she has that memory, a positive one, and so forth. And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger to where 20 years from now, when she is against a challenge in her career that feels like it's going to break her, that core memory has been built and we didn't take that moment away. So what we want to constantly think about when we're thinking anything spiritual in our life is the bigger picture. What is the big picture on this? Does this action bring me to the goal I want in 20 years? Does this action bring the person that I'm involved with where they're supposed to be at in 20 years? If we look at it that way, then we are really loving somebody. That's when we are really taking care of somebody. And that's what I want you to realize is true love for a soul is saying, I'm going to give you a life change. You might hate me in this moment for a day or two, but you'll love me for the rest of your life. That is how we want to look at things. And self-love is the very first embodiment of that, of knowing I've got to put myself first. I have to be number one, because if I am not number one, that means anything I do in my life can't be number one. I actually was thinking about this the other day. I think a lot of the reasons why we have so many people who do really brilliant things, but we don't hear about it until they're dead, is because they don't have a mastery of self-love. So no matter how brilliant they are, no matter what they're doing that could change the world, because it's not on their field to prioritize it, we don't hear about it. Then they pass away, and then it comes to the surface because their energy field isn't stopping it from doing so. So, as you can see, it is literally a component on your field that would stop your entire genius to be seen by the world. And that's that bigger picture viewpoint. It's why none of us can skip over this step, and why none of us should live with these limited beliefs that it's a selfish thing, because it's the complete opposite of selfish. It is actually taking the harder route and going, "Oof, I have to get comfortable saying, no, this isn't what's best for me. And I need to put myself first and do that." But what is easy, once you really, really sink into this of knowing I'm doing what's best for me and everyone involved, you won't feel bad. You'll realize that, nope, this is actually the most source aligned action and thing I could possibly do for myself and everyone around me. Now, there is a very specific trick to making sure you put yourself first. And it has to do with considering yourself first before anything that you do with anyone else. But we're probably not going to get into the specificness of it. But I really want to just plant the seed of you starting to think, am I doing this in every area of my life? Am I thinking that it's wrong or selfish? Just have so much limited beliefs out there. Like I said, most of the planet is in this bracket. So that means the people who are creating things out in the world have this embodiment. So we don't see it in people, we don't see it in situations and circumstances that we should put ourselves first. And this is kind of what is happening on a global standpoint right now. America was about to die if we don't put America first. And that is why a lot of people are struggling with what is happening right now, because they think it's cruel, it's mean, it's all this emotional reaction, which I totally understand. But I want you to realize that the emotional reaction is actually coming from something within you. It has nothing to do with the circumstances. But we have to think bigger picture. How do we all survive and thrive in America? And we've got to get it to a place where America is number one again. And we've fallen big time with that. And now that's a huge other topic we can get into. And I know if that is super triggering, I am sorry, but I promise you that there is a lot of light in what's happening right now. And knowing and understanding what we're talking about today will help with that. When you start to realize, if I want people to prioritize me, I've got to start prioritizing myself. I've got to realize that that is the most important thing so that I can take care of other people around me. A big realization for me was that when I started to embody this, that's when my career actually started to open. And it totally makes sense, because I want you to think of having a career that is helping a million people. That is quite literally impossible on 2%. I always say this to my clients, that it's literally impossible for me to read people's energies all day long without feeling depleted if I wasn't at 100%. The fact that I'm at 100% is what makes it so easy, and I don't get depleted. I'm constantly refilling myself. So I can help more people. I can be more effective. I'm at a level 10 versus a level 2, missing details and not giving maybe the best advice because I'm so tired. You can't even do what you're meant to do the best way you could possibly do it without being at 100%. And I know from experience, when you start to unlock your soul pull and you start to really do it, you are challenged to strengthen parts of you that are your genius. And it's a muscle, different muscles that you're working. For example, you could be mastering communication, and that is a muscle that you have to wake back up. You will not want to strengthen these muscles if you are at a level 2. You're going to want to sleep. You're going to want to be like, nope, you're going to feel like that's too much work. You won't do it. Trust me. Uh, I've tried doing everything on being at a 20% energy fill, and it's just impossible. And then you're just reaching for the wrong things to fill yourself. And that was a big thing for me. I think that was the biggest change that I got from this. I mean, obviously being prioritized is a huge change, but I realized back then, because I was so depleted, I was reaching for the wrong things. I mean, just as an example, we crave sugar because we are not filling ourselves up with energy in the right component in our life somewhere else. So just not filling ourselves up with the indulgences of life and feeling fulfilled there, we start to grab for sugar. And sugar is the thing that now gives us that boost. That's obviously not the right thing to grab for. So that's the example, like back in the day, I would go towards a lot of things that were not what was the right fill. But when I'm at a level 100 fill of putting myself first and taking care of myself, then I'm actually very intuitive about what I need. And it is the best of the best. So I want you to realize that this is a non negotiable, and it is mastering it and embodying it in every area of your life. If there are ever beliefs that are coming up around this that are stopping you from doing it, I'm here to help. But just know that it's just limitations trying to shut you down, trying to stop you from getting where you want to be. And you're going to need to be at 100% to be able to handle everything that your soul wants to do. So just know that this is not a selfish thing. And I don't want you to think that there are people that are more important than you than yourself. Really think about this. It's like you want to give love to everyone else, but the only reason why you want that is because you feel a lack of it. So let's start from the lack. Then you can help everyone else. But you have to be number one, no matter what. So sit with this, play with this, and just know that this is an opening. You'll start to see that people start to prioritize you. People will start to make you number one, and you're not going to be the last on the list. It changes the game, and that is that formula that you will put on your field. And no matter what, you will be number one, no matter where you go, and it won't change ever.